Welcome to the Poetry Flash reading series. I'm Joyce Jenkins, editor and director of Poetry Flash. And tonight we have a very special reading, a really exciting event. Lynne Thompson, who is 2021 to 2022 Poet Laureate of Los Angeles, and Dorianne Laux, both celebrating powerful new books and generously continuing our celebration of Poetry Flash's 50th plus anniversary. And I'm very grateful to say that Lynne read at a wonderfully fun reading at Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center in Los Angeles for Poetry Flash. It was just spectacular, and it's wonderful to welcome her to the Bay Area. So we have their new books and here for purchase and signing after the reading or however it happens. Dorianne's craft essays, Finger Exercises for Poets, was literally just released. It is so hot off the press that when you touch it, you get burned. It's like sizzling. So we also have her new poetry collection, Life on Earth, and we are delighted to have Lynne Thompson's brand new book, I think came out at the end of April, Blue on a Blue Palette. It's really wonderful. And we have an upcoming interview with Lynne in Poetry Flash, so watch for that later this summer with by our wonderful contributing editor Lee Rossi, who's here. So we're looking forward to that. Remember to visit poetryflash.org for reviews, future events, and updates. Videos of this event and all of our events are on the Poetry Flash YouTube channel. And to join our email event list, please just sign our analog clipboard that's over here. It's not a screen, it's... And thanks to the Art House Gallery and Cultural Center for this really fun space, wonderful space, so Berkeley. And you met Harold Adler. Thank you, Harold. And support Art House. And thanks to Rosalinda Monroy and to Robin Sierra and Jim LaCure and anyone else who helped this evening. Now to introduce the poets, Associate Editor of Poetry Flash, Richard Silberg.
As Joyce told you, this is going to be a good one. Our first reader is Lynne Thompson with her book, Blue on a Blue Palette. Let me say, because I think it's relevant, that she was a lawyer for many years. For 20 years, she, I hope I get this right, Director of Labor and Employee Relations at UC Los Angeles, because you can feel in this book that Lynne Thompson has lived. She's lived richly. Joyce told you she was laureate of LA. The first poem in this book is called Blue Night with Scissors, and that has for me a surrealist feel. And a little bit in, there's a poem called Voice, and another, I forget the second title, but they're like incantational. They say da-da, say X, say Y. But the feel of the book is neither dreamy like surrealism nor magical like incantation. It's right down where we're living. Like, just to mention some of the poems in this book, there's a poem called Among Peaches, which is a get down, kick it sex poem. As I have read, I think I'm embarrassing you. All righty, okay. It even manages to be funny. There's a poem, I can't remember, it's a biblical title, And the Day Shall Come When the Living Waters. It's a poem about the sea, the snot green, scrotum tightening sea, as she said. But it's just deep. It encompasses the sea, which is a pretty big subject. There, Dirge for Murdered Black Girls. It's a political book. It's a black feminist book. It's a book for all of us who love poetry. This is a book for you. So let's give her a warm welcome, Lynne Thompson.
Thank you, Richard. I hope that's all on tape because I'm just going to play it everywhere that I go. This is incredible. I bring you greetings and love from Los Angeles. It's good to see faces I know, new friends. So and to be able to read with the amazing Dorianne is dreams do come true. So this is very cool. Okay, so I have my timer here so I don't blow it and blather on forever. I'm going to read primarily from Blue on a Blue Palette unless something else occurs to me. And I made my little notes about what I was going to read. So this is a book about women, our joys, our frustrations, our rage, our loves, our sexuality, our spirituality, etc. So it skips around and covers a lot of subjects. I'm glad that you liked that first poem, but I'm not reading that today. Okay, so I'm going to start out with a couple of poems that really do touch on history, which I love to incorporate into my poems. This was born from a book that deals with a revolution that took place over a year in what was then called Berbice, is now Guyana in South America. And there was one sentence, it's all the men, right? It's always all the men. One sentence that said, but even though we may not know their names, women were crucial to this revolt. And I wanted to give voice to them. A Rage on Berbice, 1763. Before I was north and south of a new country, I was divided from. I was a tactic. I was a slave trading port. Before I was remade as Amerindian, I was sugar as the main crop. Before I was overworked and underfed, I was selected for immediate punishment, persuaded to remain a wooden gutter for collecting rainwater, ruled by terror and customary understandings, before I was replenished by the arrival of 2 more ships. Before I was left for dead by frightened Europeans was before I was something black at the bottom of a buyer's cup. Before I was high upriver in the jungle, I was gold and silver and a bounty paid to soldiers, prepared fields farther inland, the quarters where we captives slept. I was the fort burned and abandoned before I joined the Arawaks and squatted with a knife in my hand. Before I was traumatized woman hoping to make my way, I was the turning of the tide. Before I was awakened in the middle of the night, I was bloodshed on the captain's bedclothes. Before I escaped the cooking pot full of Negro flesh, before I declined to implicate the others, before I was witness to the executions of the women rebels and sentenced to vigilante injustice, I was a daughter who spelled you my name phonetically. I was woman with child whose children's children have lived to tell you this. And the other history one I wanted to share with you all, perhaps you've heard of the Black Dahlia. Lots of movies about her. This was a woman who was very gruesomely murdered in Los Angeles in the 40s. But I wanted to know something else about her, so it led to the writing of this poem. The ways of remembering women. 1. Do you want to know about the Black Dahlia, or do you want the truth about Elizabeth Short? You may not be aware, but there is no such Dahlia, and yet lovers of crime focus on the dark of it, the mystery connecting Miss Short to its rare essence, which, some say, means enduring grace. I thought it was the newspapers who coined it, eager to make a buck, featuring the brutality of that January 1947. But no, it was the sailormen who frequented the waterfront along the Long Beach Pier who gave the raven-haired Betty her final moniker. They could have called her Rose for the tattoo on her left calf, could have called her Star for those who said she was an actress, well-behaved and sweet, despite the hideous tableau she was found in. Her torso, head, and legs savagely detached, each from the other. Her body drained of blood, her mouth slashed from one ear to the other. Skull pulp-like as it roiled in the tall grass of Lamert Park. Did you know she was pregnant, her fetus removed post-mortem by her killer? That a Chandler, yes, one of those Chandlers, was rumored to be the daddy, and still we can't get enough of anything that made her macabre. See Time magazine 2015 describing many confessors to her murder, everyone looking for their main line to notoriety. See how, even now, you want to know who did it, as well as the horrific facts. Short was alive when a butcher's knife scrolled calyx to corolla. 2. See how you don't remember just 4 years before the Lady Dahlia, there had been another Betty, née Nunez, although there are reasons that you forget. She was, it is said, a Pachuca who hung out along Sleepy Lagoon, listened to Central Avenue jazz, and junked old folks' tales of docile Mexicanas who sported plucked eyebrows, darkened lips, and an updo held in place by rats. How many of you remember those 10 days in June 1943? If not, reread Newsweek's piece, not so subtly making judgments about loose girls in LA's Mexican Quarter, indicting them as delinquents, waylaying so-called innocent servicemen, with hip swaying and jitterbugging. The girl companions of zoot suitors, so dubbed, whether or not it is true, by the media and by whites with their own style. Many were just girls who were forced to testify against friends or face detention or worse. Yet we only remember them, if we recall them at all, as mestizas, cultural hybrids, traitors, slaves, sellouts, like many women who came to LA, see Nunez and Short, to find different identities, and found them as virgin or whore in someone's play or film, or as the unremembered to the rest of us. What can they ever say about what it is we all say about them? To paraphrase an old African, until the lioness becomes a historian, some vengeful animal will always tell her story. Oh, okay, so I'm gonna get this Peaches poem out of the way because it is embarrassing, but I wrote it, so I gotta, live with it, I guess. My family is horrified. But I wrote this because I read an article that women over 50 have no libido. I said, I don't know what women you know, but I don't know any women like that. Okay. Among peaches. I don't care that I'm old. I still want to fuck, and I don't mean some old lady make love as though I need a doily to perch my ass on. I want to fuck with fury and sweat rolling down the legs of us both, the mixture and emollient for brittle bones. And if my love dog is as old as I am, I don't want him to show it or to complain or say we have to wait for the Viagra to kick in, for desire to erect his nipples. I want him to be struck by a sudden urge, if I haven't been struck first, then take me in the stock room of Pavilion's Market. I want to be so surprised that when I reach out, I bring down a whole crate of peaches. I want to bite his lip to keep him from screaming his pleasure upon seeing my salt and pepper nest. I want him to drink the joy I've daubed on just below my breasts, just in case, and I want him to let me put my mouth everywhere and do what I declined to do in my youth, and twice. I need a nocturne to turn me around that won't turn me loose, to bring me to the hard edge. And when the stock boy comes upon us, his arms full with boxes, the latest shipment of sweet fruit, when he can't decide if he wants to take photos to post on Instagram or to run away in terror, I will tell him, pray you get this lucky in years that will slip off and bruise you the way peaches bruise. I saw a couple in the supermarket come out of the bathroom, and they looked like they had been up to no good. That's all I can say. They look way too happy. And then when I'm depressed about myself, I have to write something, so bring myself out of it. A woman's body, aging, still loves itself, kisses the air that surrounds it, loves the lips in full pout, famous birthplace of all kisses. The belly, brown, round, kisses the inverted button, and the shoulders. Oh, how I kiss my shoulders. My nose kissing lilies and a purply night sky. My neck, long as forever, fit for 20,000 kisses. 20,000 kisses for each cocoa breast and nipple. For the lower arms that encircle each other, then kiss, kiss. Even the ears, French kissing to tunes of Django and Debussy. The upper arms wishing to kiss their tender underarms. Thread of both hands kissing the lifeline, and my cheeks colored bronze with kisses. Lashes that kiss everything they see. My forehead, a map of the place where kisses live long, long live my kinky hair braided with kiss after kiss after kiss. The other thing that you'll find in this book are a lot of poems written in a variety of forms, and I wanted to use that to be emblematic of the variety of women among us, tall, short, Republican, gay, handicapped, whatever or disabled. I'm sorry, I should have said that. I apologize. We come in different varieties, and I wanted to celebrate that with these forms. So this first one that I'm going to read is a form I think I made up only because I haven't seen anybody else do it. So it's a cento, which some of you may know is a patchwork, a quilt of the work of other people. But I've written it in the form of a pantoum, so I'm calling it a centum, my own little baby. And who better to use than Diane Seuss and Terrence Hayes? Frankly, when asked about the autonomy of my body, I consider my inner assassin, as inside me is a black-eyed animal, the umbilicus from which everything originates. I have no origin story, unburdened by conscience, like a baby, the umbilicus from which everything originates. I wonder if Jesus wants souls like the devil does, unburdened by conscience, like a baby, the list of pallbearers still in a drawer somewhere. I bet you shapeshifters want souls like devils do, their hinges turning, the list of pallbearers still in a drawer somewhere, an existential jambalaya. Their hinges turning, a clamor of voltas or some existential jambalaya. My only fear of a virtuous mob, a clamor of voltas shaped like a silver tongue. My deepest fear, a virtuous mob of mother wit and mother woe. Shaped like a silver tongue, I have no origin story of mother wit and mother woe. Inside me is a black-eyed animal. So that was fun to write. I mean, you know, a little help from Terrence and Diane never hurts. Make it new. And this one is an abecedarian. I'm in love with that form, and I write a lot of them. Call it havoc, as every step you take is clutch and coffin. Believe me, baby bent on starshine, you're crazy if you think you can get away by train. Doubt is your best, depend upon it, especially when it was only a few days ago when you cast bread with glee and hope on a mirage. Here's a news flash. We're all chumps who ignore the fact we live in cities of the already dead. Justice, just a fairy tale. Kingdoms, bellicose. Lovesick in these times of unloving. Yes, we're all mules. We are freak shows with mechanical limbs, neither owners nor mortgagees. On our rutted cheeks, the war paint of civilizations we never quite remember. So we pump the trombones, zith the zithers, twirl amidst the ashes and tractor parts. Under a mad magnificence, our violence spans centuries, wreaks havoc in suddenly shuttered towns, Shenzhen, Zawiya, Khartoum, and you already know what else will be lost. The river Zuni's blue-head suckers, lifeless in this sag of bedrock. Okay, I'm gonna skip that, I'm gonna get to the good ones, okay. I don't want to overdo my time. And I do write a number of poems where I try to honor other artists. It's just a way to get into a poem. I mean, it sounds all fancy, but it's not really fancy at all. Now, I had these color tabs that were supposed to be working for me, and they are not working for me. But they're pretty. Exactly. My mother would like that, but they're pretty. Thank you, Mom. Okay, well, that didn't work either. What happened? Sorry, I apologize. I'm usually much better organized than this. Oh, 55. I can't read. That's the problem. Not 35, 55. Okay. This uses a line from Leonard Cohen, dance me very tenderly and dance me very long. Song for Africa, Leonard Cohen never knew he started. Long, dance me very tenderly and dance me very long as the river Mananara, long as the miles between the Malagasy and the bondsmen of Kentucky, long as memory, long as the concussions of kidnap, long as every equation plotting the distance between Earth and its backlash, between sun and the bursting of hyacinth, daffodil, mustard seed. Seed most fruitless, carried across the sea, perhaps from Benin, once misprized as French Dahomey, and before that, when the land was confused by the dynasty of the Edo, its people most majestic, most black and black and black, and the people are movement. See how they excite here and here, secrets in our gardens, stunning among the periwinkle, creeping myrtle, Confederate jasmine, Floridora in spring, and in summer when they are most Stephanatus floribunda, curling around and over and under, and have you ever seen such movement, long as the river Mananara, long as the miles between us and the Malagasy? Oh, boogaraboo, dance me oh so tenderly, and dance me very long. And let's see, what is with this little bug? It likes poetry. Okay, little bug that likes poetry. I'm going to read 3 more, and I'll be done. Once we were rivers. This poem has an epigraph by W.E.B. Du Bois. Would America have been America without her Negro people? But is this the last of us? Gone the mean barracoon. Gone the mean barracoon. Gone the deep, wide rivers of us. No more roosters or pickled pig's feet. No Aretha or respect. Is this the last of us? Our African less African and gone. Our tap less Bojangles, Hines and gone. Gone the deep, wide rivers of us and gone too. Our faith and fidelity to the Betsy Ross stitch. And Martin, was he the last of us? And Malcolm, Harriet, Barbara Jordan, all gone. Who remains to pray for the deep, wide rivers of us? Gone our song and its shadow, gone the tongue of the gullah, gone the deep, wide rivers of us. Is this the last of us? You can't really believe that. You've been seeing the last of us for a long time come. Come first the black women and their people, Amina of Zaria, Anna D'Souza Nzinga, Nandi. Then come the transatlantic traders, sailing from Luanda, Malembo, Sierra Leone, landing Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Kitts, landing the Carolinas, Virginia, New York. Come then the black men, running, too many slave named like my great-great-great-grandfather George, Fred Douglass. This is not too old a story. See Emmett Till, Harry Moore, 4 dead girls in an Alabama church. Some say only a few bad rogues. But today's cops, just like yesterday's patty rollers, shot Stephon Clark, shot Danny Ray Thomas, shot Antoine Rose II, shot Deontay Yarber. All of them unarmed, and all of this in the same year of whose Lord? So we fight. We fight for the last of us, even fight each other, Ali Boumier. But then we hear the kora, the talking drum, the balafon and marimba, and Josephine Baker heard them, and Jacob Lawrence heard them, and Toni Morrison heard them, and Jesse Owens, running, heard the drums that turned the Arthur Ashe racket into a drum, the diplomacy of Ralph Bunche into a drum, the demand of Ida B. Wells into a drum, like Basquiat's obnoxious liberals was a drum, like Harriet Powers' quilting was a drum, like a LeBron James dunk is a drum, and didn't Father Curry preach in the Church of England like a drum those lords and ladies had never heard before? So they know, as you know, there will never be a last of us. C.E.G., the Justins of Tennessee. We come like rivers. Thank you. And because that was long, I think I'm just going to read one short one. This is for Ruth Stone, who some of you may know, was a poet that came to publication later in life, which I personally found very encouraging. And when she did, man, was she a house of fire. And so when she passed, I wanted to write an elegy for her, also an abecedarian. On Ruth Stone releasing The Orb. All of life is just a way to dream of Dave Brubeck's Blue Rondo a la Turk, of Pablo Casal's Boeing Box Suite No. 1 with such duende, such effluence, that every living thing, the purple finch eating its thistle and millet, grown men selling cut-rate wares, children skipping rope, halted their own joy to listen. The poet said, "I am the simple sieve that drinks the universe." But just as she said so, some unsettled American killed a Jew. An uneasy Jew killed a Lebanese child he'd never met. Her eyes turned to Mecca, to other dominions and their schisms. No one was listening to the music, not Chopin's Opus No. 9, not Oscar Peterson priming his piano with Perdido. Oh, how quickly the melody fades to riffs on revenge, to clank and helmets, strut and baby birds with stiff wings in the desert. Teach lessons in delight, the poet might have said, knowing ultimately we need to learn of sweet verbena, the way the artist Watanabe Kazan painted inner virtue, Xanadu being just another color dripping from his brush. You can live with this, zinnias thriving in a field, on your lips, the taste of something. Thank you.
All right, our next poet is Dorianne Laux, who I have a special fondness for because when she was a baby poet, writing the poems for her first book, Awake, she was in a house on Fulton Street, and she came down to work at the Flash from time to time, like a little locomotive. And that's just great stuff. It's great to see her again. She's come a long way since then. 5 more books, a Pulitzer Prize finalist, hoo-ha. And this book, for me, a template for a Dorianne Laux poem. It's always full of vivid details, and they build like cheerleaders or acrobats making a human pyramid, and you get to the top, and someone does a handstand, and they've done a Dorianne Laux poem. This book has a special reach, as you can tell from the title, Life on Earth. It begins, I'm forgetting at any event, I think it's called, with very atypical Dorianne Laux language, very general, puts us billions of years back in the universe, and it talks to all of us. It praises us. And it ends with the title poem, just imagining the incredible odds against any of us being here. All the zillions of little sperms swimming to give us this life. And so much else. So it goes back to Rome, to salt. I'm talking too much. Let's just give her a warm welcome, Dorianne Laux.
Thank you. It is really special for me to be back here with Joyce and Richard. I mean, all of you poetry flashers, you know. And I mean, I remember my friends, Judy and Jerry and I would all come down in Jerry's little beat-up Comet, and we'd load poetry flashes into the trunk. And the car actually kind of sat lower in the back. And then we'd go deliver them, you know, all over the place. And or I'd come in and help Joyce with the layout, you know, for the magazine, or, you know, bring her coffee. But anyway, it's a long and storied relationship we've had. And it really was my beginning in entering kind of the world of poetry and the production of poetry and others who loved poetry as much as I did. You know? I mean, they just loved it. And I didn't know that many people like that. And so it was an education, but also an education in my own humanity and caring for the art. So I'll go ahead and read the first poem that Richard mentioned in any event. If we are fractured like stars, bred to shine in every direction, through any dimension, billions of years since and hence. I shall not lament the human, not yet. There is something more to come. Our hearts a gold mine, not yet plumbed, an uncharted sea. Nothing is gone forever. If we came from dust and will return to dust, then we can find our way into anything. What we are capable of is not yet known, and I praise us now in advance. So this book is dedicated to us. And the first poem, when I wrote my Pulitzer Prize finalist book, my selected poems, new and selected, all the new poems were about my mother who had recently died. And when I finished that book, I thought, oh, this is wonderful because I can stop writing about my mother. You know, I had written about her all my life, and then, of course, this, flood of poems came out after she died, and I thought, okay. Well, the first poem in this book is for my mother. It's not going to end. I can see it now. And it's called Spirit Level. There's a quote from Gary Snyder. When making an axe handle, the pattern is not far off. My mother was either horizontal on the couch or vertical, a plumb line from her spine to the top of her head to the ceiling that spins when she drinks. Alcohol and an air bubble trapped, sealed, and fixed inside her, her face carved from wood, a tear gliding slowly down the curve of her cheek. My mother was once a spirit in this world. Once she breathed for me, above me, beside me, behind me. Now I feel her warm breath on my neck summer nights, peering over my shoulder as I write every poem, whispering, "Let me in." I let her in. I remember every time she picked me up or set me down, put me to bed or woke me from dreams. And now I see how my whole life has been a dream, one she built for me from the ground up. Her daughter, my mother, the axe, beautiful tool with which she shaped me. A house much like the one she lived in, but smaller, fewer rooms, a tiny, unusable attic, and a cluttered basement. I let her in, like she let me in. She became my carpenter, stonemason, and bricklayer, piling me up cell by cell. The blade that shaped my legs, my arms, my surveyor, millwright. She used herself as a template, her genes tough, her organs elastic, her eyes and nose and forehead and mouth. And when her body, from which my body was made, was slipped into the hot retort, I burned too. She refused the beveled casket, the oiled mahogany box, last drawer for the dead, wanted only the fury of fire, the blue-white flames unmaking her with their licking tongues. House her grandmother built, and her grandmother before her, all of them giving what they had been given. The hardwood floors, staircases and banisters, their deepest cupboards, their heavy doors flung wide so the breeze I would be could blow through. So I have to stop and have a drink of water. Is this open? Oh, God, and I can open it. I was going to have Joe come up here. Do it for me. This is called the Thermopylaeum, and I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but it was an ancient snack stall that was discovered recently in a new dig that they did in Pompeii. And I loved Pompeii when I was a kid. I used to just pour. In fact, I found a little book on Pompeii back there, and Joe went, oh, God. And, but anyhow, this is the Thermopylaeum. Ancient snack stall uncovered in Pompeii, the Daily Star. Even in 79 AD, people loved street food. All the young Romans flocking around the sizzling terracotta pots, the stalls frescoed with chickens and hanging ducks, hot drinks served in ceramic two-handled pateras, filled with warm wine and spices. Their sandaled feet glimmered as they milled around, waving hellos, smudging one another's cheeks with kisses, murmuring gossip, complaining about the crazy rise in the price of wheat. Soups and stews, skewered meats, stacks of flatbread, honey cakes, and candy made with figs. They sprawled on the steps or sat near a neighbor's open door, stood under a blur of windows, someone playing a lyre, barefoot children singing the Ode of Horace. Just like New York after the pandemic, before the many returned and retired to their living rooms to watch the news on a loop, alone with a cat or dog, a furry stay against the nothing of loneliness, their dreams a passport to fear. I used to see the excavated people of Pompeii, frozen in time, caught curled in sleep or kneeling, a couple fucking, though there is one of a possible father, propped in what looks like an easy chair, a mother bouncing a child on her lap, as if they decided in their final moments to be happy, to go into the afterlife covered in ash, buried alive by joy. So, another pandemic poem. Got a few of those. This is a poem for my brother, my older brother, who died. He was in the service, but he died in Germany on a side of a road on a rainy night when he got out to change a tire. And it was hit and run, and so we never saw him again. But I was very young. I was 12 when he died, but he made a great impression on me. And he taught me how to ride a bike. He taught me how to watch The Twilight Zone without being afraid. He was wonderful. So this is for him. Winter Brother. These nights I walk out and look up at Orion, my winter brother, spellbound each time I trace him to wholeness from the star on his right shoulder to the star on his left, down to form his torso, lower down his little skirt. I know his right hand holds a club, but I replace it with two splayed arrows pointing up, and his left a lion's pelt that for me becomes a bow, from hunter to archer, just like that. And why not? Whoever made him up is lost to history's shimmering distance, and I'm here now in my dark backyard, a splash of ghost sibling lilies glowing at my feet. I like to think he's my older brother who died far from home on a lonely road. his broken body found in a muddy gutter, swollen with rain. That's how it is down here on the death-packed earth, where nothing is eternal. The body's buried, haunch to haunch, beneath the indifferent dirt. I remember his handwriting on a postcard, the lines squashed between the address and the card's cut edge. I miss you. I love you. I saw some sights today you wouldn't believe. On the other side, a wall of etched bricks, a chiseled statue of Karl Marx's fat head, his beard of gray stone. When he died, I felt alone. Some part of me went cold, some echo following me like a false star. So I lifted my brother into the sky where I could ride on his belt as he strode over the 7 continents, sharing an eyedropper of water between us. So, and this is, I have more about my mother, so you're just stuck with her. This one is called Bisquick. How many people used to use Bisquick, I'm committed to Bisquick. It's part of my life. Bisquick. My mother could whip anything up from a box of the stuff. A casserole, a cobbler, Mississippi pot roast with cheese biscuits, chicken and dumplings or fried chicken, the skin crispy as her cookies and pie crust. It seemed the oven was always on, the dial pointing to home, where we'd run back to from wherever we had gotten to, leaving footprints on her clean floor, mud or sand or the water that thundered from the hose in summer. She served the silky gravy in a scratched glass boat, poured like good fortune over our mashed potatoes, all of us having dug out our wonder craters to receive it. And sometimes I came home early just to smell the air, scented with mingled spices, see the banners of flour the pan left on the counter when she lifted it, the bottom blackened by years of burned butter. We'd wake to pancakes in the cast iron skillet, and it seemed she'd never slept, never stopped, eggs cracking open, spilling each whole yellow globe into a blue bowl. What were we waiting for but to see her at the sink, her long bare feet on the cool tiles, just an ordinary woman made of flint and roses, her black hair tied back with a drugstore scarf. I think mothers are such heroic people. And they make miracles. How long have I been up here? Probably.
You're good. I don't know exactly.
Well, the last poem's a little long, so I'm going to read my peach poem so that we have a bowl of peaches tonight. Mine's significantly shorter, but hopefully it does the job. Peach. I kneel to the ground fall peach, its russet belly, its honey streaks, touch its new tough skin, run my thumb along its deep, sexy cleft. I pluck another from a low branch, tug it down into captivity like an animal caught in a bramble, scooped into my arms that open to return it to the wild field of my cutting board, where I lift the knife, slice around the stony pit, as its purple edges bleeding into the gold flesh in a starburst, and like a star, becoming into silence, minuscule pulse of living light from this distance has been making itself over and over from the fire within it, like the sound hole of a violin that welcomes any dark music. To think we can eat a sunset, convicted as we are to the mud of this earth, knees dark with dirt, hands sticky with essence. To think I, too, am here in this cleft body, a being split into parts and seamed back together, swollen with desire, hungry for the sun. A little more metaphor. But who can see a peach and not just want to peach it? So this is the title poem from the book Life on Earth. Life on Earth. The odds are we should never have been born. Not one of us. Not 1 in 400 trillion, to be exact. Only one among the 250 million released in a flood of semen that glides like a glassine limousine filled with tadpoles of possible people, one of whom may or may not be you. A being made of water and blood, a creature with eyeballs and fists that end in fists, a you with all your particular perfumes, the chords of your sinewy legs singing as they form, your organs humming and buzzing with new life, moonbeams lighting up your brain's gray coils, the exquisite hills of your face, the human toy your mother longs for, your father yearns to hold, the unmistakable you who will take your first breath, your first step, bang a copper pot with a wooden spoon, trace the lichen glowing on a boulder you climb to see the wild expanse of a field, the one whose heart will yield to the yellow forsythia, named after William Forsythe. Not the American actor with piercing blue eyes, but the Scottish botanist who discovered the buttery bells on a hillside blooming to beat the band, zigzagging down an unknown Scottish slope. And those are only a few of the things you will one day know, slowly chipping away at your ignorance and doubt. You, who were born from ashes and will return to ash. When you think you might be through with this body and soul, look down at an anthill or up at the stars. Remember your gambler chances, the bounty of good luck you were born for. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Joyce.
I'm so moved by this reading. Thank you so much for our two wonderful poets, Lynne Thompson and Dorianne Laux. And for each of you who came here tonight, really, thank you so much. Just thank you so much for being with us tonight. Thanks.